Do you love the Tabernacle Choir? This year, the choir's music is everywhere you are. Listen to your favorite choir songs and music and the spoken word anytime you want on Alexa by simply enabling the skill.
Alexa, play music in the spoken word.
Now playing music in the spoken word.
You can also download the Tabernacle Choir app, subscribe to the choir on YouTube, listen on Spotify, and have access to all their wonderful music. Happy listening.
Evening. Buyer's remorse. Buy a new car? I'll be moving in. Let's get started.
Sorry, I think there's been a mistake. I bought it from Carvana.
You what?
Yeah, great price. I even have 7 days to love it or return it.
So there's no...
No buyer's remorse. More like buyer's rejoice.
I guess I'll let myself out. Congratulations. I mean it.
Buyer's rejoice. Buy your car today on Carvana.
Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Nobody brings you better coverage of the teams you're passionate about than these guys.
Try some more.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ, PK, and it is time to welcome Josh Furlong back to the show. You read him and you see him at KSLSports.com. Josh, good morning.
Good morning. Sorry, trying to fix my camera.
No worries.
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good. I'm wondering if you're doing well for long, though. The top 25 poll comes out.
Not for Furlong.
Then, nice. Then everybody analyzes how the 65 voters rank teams, and then the hardcore at University of Fill in the Blank begin to search people out and harass them. You got any good stories about people going at you for the way you voted?
Oh, yeah. I mean, every year there's something. I don't know that I have one in particular. I mean, but you get people, even yesterday, that were pretty upset with, how I've put the people. Obviously I have a Big Ten and SEC bias, or I'm not ranking the local teams high enough. It's the same every year, but you just kind of roll with it. I mean, sometimes it gets a little personal. Other times you just have to get off social media.
Yeah, there you go.
Gosh, I hate your ballots. They're always so one-sided favoring the Big Ten and the SEC and Notre Dame, while always dismissing BYU. Not saying BYU should be number one, but you of all people should be more bullish on the local teams. Now, that isn't me talking. That is somebody else, and that's what you're referring to, I assume.
Exactly. It's the same argument every year, and it's fine, right? I mean, that's the hard part, right? Is like, obviously I do have more insight on the local teams. And so there's one hand where you can praise them and you can lift them up a little bit. And then on the other hand, you see their warts and you see what's going on with them a little bit more than maybe other teams. And so I think it's a tough task to be able to kind of balance those things and try to say, okay, am I judging them too harshly compared to everybody else? But it's the nature of it. It's a preseason poll. Like it's just a snapshot in time and it's not anything too serious.
Every year, people look for the team that in the top 25 completely falls apart. And last year, number 2, number 4, number 9, Penn State, Clemson, and LSU. LSU fires their coach. Penn State fires their coach in October because of a 3-game losing streak. Pretty dramatic. Is there anybody you put in the top 10 and think, well, based on who they have back, I need to put them here, but I totally realize the bottom could fall out?
I mean, that could be any team, right? Like, because last year I had Penn State number 1. So it's like, I don't know that you expect your number 1 team to drop out of the poll completely, fire its coach, do that kind of stuff. So it's tough to predict. But I mean, there's different things where they have to hit, right? Like, I think Notre Dame is an easy one for everybody to kind of latch onto. With that said, they have a pretty weak schedule. So it's like, if you can't get it done there, then the bottom really does drop out for you. But I think they're the team that many expect to probably not be among the top 5 that I have in there. I have them currently rated number 4. I think there's a lot riding on this season for CJ Carr. Can he be the quarterback that they need him to be? What can they do? There's a team like Ole Miss where, Trinidad Chambliss is coming in for another season, coming off a hot season last year with Lane Kiffin. Now he has to do it under a new head coach. Does Ole Miss have what it takes to be able to be that team? I don't know. That's, on paper, it looks good. They've got a lot of returners. They've got a lot of talent. Pete Golding is a great head coach. At least we assume so from a SEC level. But I think there's teams like that they could fall. I imagine Ohio State and Oregon, Miami, those types of teams will probably be at the top still. But anything's crazy in this sport, and that's what's great about it is you get to be able to watch these games, you get to be able to enjoy it. That doesn't invalidate these preseason polls. It's really just a snapshot in time. That's what I try to remind people. It's a snapshot in time where you're looking and you're saying, okay, here's the teams where we think they're going to be, and obviously that gets changed every single week.
Big 12 wise, we've got Texas Tech at 10, which you should say you have, BYU 16, Utah 20, and then rounding it out with Houston at 25. Give us your thoughts as to what went into that.
Yeah, Texas Tech, I mean, they return a lot of talent, plus they just continue to stock up in the transfer portal. So there's a good reason for them to be at the top. If there is a team that I think could potentially drop it, maybe Texas Tech. We don't know what's going to happen at quarterback, right? Will Hammond is expected to be the starting QB, but we don't really know if he's going to be ready. We don't know if they're going to have what they need to at the time. Their schedule's soft enough that it probably helps them, but they may not be the same juggernaut that they were last year. I think there's a lot of people that expect BYU to be that team, and, for good reason. They return a lot of their talent from last year. Bear Bachmeier is coming into a second season where he's got a lot more experience. Obviously, there's questions on the defensive side in terms of, can Kelly Papinga continue what Jay Hill did? They're not going to change much, but at the same time, there's going to be some changes there. Do they have a wide receiver that can really kind of spread the field for them? What's going to happen there? So that's why I put them a tiny bit lower. I still think BYU is probably near the top there, but at the same time, there's some questions they need to prove as well. And then Utah, obviously that's a team that has a ton of questions, but I think there's potential there coming off an 11-2 season where you have Devin Dampier, you have, Wayshawn Parker, you have potentially the best wide receiver corps that they've ever had there, mixed in with a defense that for the most part rebuilds every single year. There's belief that they can do it. That's why I have them at 20. I want them to be able to show that they can do a little bit more, but at the same time, validate that they can be good enough. And then Houston, Houston's one where I toyed with either them or Arizona. I think Houston has probably a little bit more of an edge right now. They've got a lot of returning talent as well, but at the same time, they haven't been able to really sustain it a ton, and their schedule wasn't as challenging last year, and they still weren't able to do it as well. So, Houston, Arizona, maybe even Kansas State probably could fit in that same 25 spot. I think there is at least one other Big 12 team in there, but I chose Houston just because Connor Wegman's back. He's a returning, you could put Arizona there with Noah Fafita, but I think Houston has a little bit more of an edge right there right now.
You mentioned Wayshawn Parker, and he had to split time early in the season. It was amazing to me how little he got the ball until the last 5 or 6 games of the year when his numbers exploded. Does he get the ball? Does he get 15 to 20 carries a game this year? Or is McGivern going to throw the ball more, so even if he's the featured back, there aren't going to be as many carries to be had?
Yeah, I mean, I think that'll probably be more telling based on this offensive line. I think if that offensive line can establish a good run game, then I think Wayshawn will be a big focus of that in terms of, like you said, 15 to 20 carries a game. But I think they're going to try to involve him more in the passing game as well. There's going to be a lot more, short passes, intermediate passes, behind the line of scrimmage passes for Wayshawn. But I think all in all, he's going to be much more of a focus than he ever was. I don't think Utah's going to abandon the run, right? Like, this isn't Kevin McGivern coming in here and suddenly Utah is operating air raid offense. This is going to be balanced in the sense that he feels like he wants to have a balance toward his playmakers, right? That's going to be Wayshawn Parker. That's going to be Braden Pagan. That's going to be a whole host of other players. And so I think whoever has the hot hand, so to speak, is going to be able to get that. So there may be some games where Wayshawn isn't utilized that much. Maybe he's 10 carries a game. And another, I feel like they're going to be able to utilize him 15, 20 carries a game. But even then, even though he's quote-unquote RB1, I don't know that it's the same as years past where there's this quote-unquote bell cow back, right? Like, I don't think teams are focusing in on that as much. It's much more spread the ball around. You've got a lot of guys, Hunter Andrews, you got Nate Johnson, Bird Ficklin for that matter, who are going to be able to get in there and factor into the run game, passing game, all kinds of stuff. So, I think it's got to be a shift in mindset in terms of how Utah approaches this. Wayshawn is still the lead guy, and he's going to get the bulk of those carries, but I think it's going to vary on a game-to-game basis.
Your top 5, starting with number 1 and going through down to 5. Ohio State, number 1. Oregon, in number 2. Miami, 3. Notre Dame, 4. Georgia, 5. And then you got Texas at 6. A lot of people think that Texas might be the favorite this year. And so from that perspective, that's probably a little low. What is your thought process there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, they have a few returners, but they are rebuilding, a fair amount of their team. If I'm let me just verify that I had it, but 2 of their top 3 wide receivers transferred out, and they do bring in some talent through the transfer portal and get the number 1 wide receiver from the portal class. So there's talent in there, but I think from where they're at and where Georgia's at, it's slim, but I think Georgia has a little bit more consistency. They have a returning quarterback who has been a little bit more successful. Obviously, Arch Manning can be a very solid quarterback, and that's the belief, especially as he started to develop as the season went on. But I think there's a little bit more of the pieces around them on the offensive side of the ball that are of a question as compared to Georgia. Now, Georgia isn't perfect, right? Last year, they weren't a perfect team and still somehow ended up winning the SEC. So it's fractions, right? Quite honestly, I even think Oklahoma could be above Texas to some extent. I think they're all kind of lumped in there right in that bunch where, if John Mateer looks like the John Mateer from the beginning of the season before his hand injury, this could be a different game for Oklahoma. So I think there's just these little nuances there. I think Texas is a really solid team. Steve Sarkisian is going to be another great head coach this year. It's just going to matter on who emerges from that. And obviously they've got the talent. They've got, the transfer portals that come in. It just is going to depend on who kind of separates themselves from that. And right now I just give Georgia the nod because they are the defending champions. They have a little bit more consistency. And, that's just kind of the nature of what it's been in the SEC for the last few years.
Anyone who's listened to this show know there's 2 teams that PK loves to loathe. Ohio State, who you ranked 1, and Oregon, who you ranked 2. Oregon's only losses in the last 2 years have only lost 3 games, and they've been to the teams that have won the title. What's separating them from kicking the door in? And it looks like you've got them losing one more time, getting frustratingly close and coming up short again.
Yeah, I mean, I think Oregon is a very interesting team, right? Because they clearly have the pieces to be able to do what they need to win a national title. But for whatever reason, they haven't been able to close the gap. Now, I think the fact that they have Dante Moore coming back, they have probably one of the best wide receiver corps in the entire country. They've got a solid defense. There's so many reasons to believe in Oregon, but it's one of those things where, I rode with Oregon the entire time that they were the number 1 team, right? They clearly were the number 1 team, but they weren't able to get it done in the playoffs. And granted, you can argue the playoff system really messed them up and it wasn't a great system for them. But I think they just, for whatever reason, haven't taken that next step. Ohio State is obviously a little bit more consistent. They're bringing in Julian Sayin. They've got their star running back coming back. They've got obviously Jeremiah Smith. They've got a lot of the consistency there. They've got a lot of the defensive mindset that's still there. They've also won a national championship in the last couple of years. So to me, that's what gives me the edge there. I honestly think there's such a fine gap between these 2 teams. I think Oregon probably has the best overall team, but Ohio State has the more consistency and the ability to be able to get to the finish line because of that's what they've done. So it's 1A, 1B in my opinion. You could rank Oregon and I wouldn't be upset at number 1. But at the same time, I think I'm going to go with the team that has had more success recently, even though Oregon is definitely right there with them.
We had on Tim Brando the other day, and he was saying he didn't think it was going to go well for Michigan. And then we had the beat writer for the Detroit News who's been doing it since 1992. So she certainly knows what she's talking about. And she was looking at possibly as an 8-4. You've got the Wolverines at 17, and obviously they've become somewhat of a local story with all the connections. We know all that. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, fair or unfair, the season is going to ride on Bryce Underwood. And I don't know that what we've heard from camp / what we saw last year is a huge indicator that they're going to have a ton of success. Now, with that said, I think they have a lot of great talent coming back. Kyle obviously is a great head coach and he can maximize a lot of that talent, but we're going to have to see it all come together, right? I think Michigan has all the capabilities in the world to be a top 25 team, top 15 team, win a national championship like we saw a few years ago, but it's all got to come together. And so for that reason, I'm not so high on Michigan in the sense that I think they can they can do it like some of these other teams. I really do think it just comes down to Bryce Underwood. And, I don't know that that's fair, but I think if they can't get a great, passing game or a great, consistency in quarterback, that's going to be a really tough situation. And quite honestly, years of experience watching Kyle operate with his quarterbacks, I don't know that he's going to necessarily take that next step, right? Like Kyle had good quarterbacks, but there wasn't this huge glow up, so to speak, from one year to the next. And I think that's going to be the same thing with Bryce Underwood. I don't know that there's going to be this huge glow up. Now, with that said, Jason Beck is a solid offensive coordinator. You obviously saw what he did with Devin Dampier, but I don't even know that Bryce Underwood is to Devin Dampier's level yet, simply because he hasn't proven it. Now,
Right.
5-star talent, right?
Yeah.
There's potential there, but I don't know that he's lived up to that billing yet.
No, not yet.
Can they get away with him not throwing the ball much because he's such a brilliant runner? Or does that just make him too one-dimensional?
I feel like that makes it too one-dimensional, right? Like we've seen this time and time again under a Kyle Whittingham system where when you become too one-dimensional, it may work for a bit, but it becomes a challenge. Now with you say that, and then I can sit here and say Utah, broke an all-time record of rushing. And so they were more one-dimensional, but I think they had enough variance in there that they could do it. But I think it becomes so much more harder to do that. And if they can't figure that out, I don't know that it's going to go well for them.
I think part of the strength of the Big 12 is when you get down to teams 6, 7, maybe 8. I don't know how far you want to go, but you can make a point that there's some pretty decent teams in the middle of the league. And we already talked about how you've got 4 ranked, and then you also have in your consideration, now you just have it alphabetically, you have the Cats, who you've already mentioned, the Sun Devils, and Kansas State and TCU. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4 teams. So you're looking, there you go. So you got basically half the league, which do you feel like could at least deserve consideration. I really think that that's the strength of the league, and I think that you're reflecting in that in your poll. Give us your thoughts as far as including these other teams and the strength of the league being actually in its depth, where you can consider half the teams then to possibly be ranked and at least be in contention as we get into late October and November.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a strength in the sense that there is a lot of teams that can vie for those spots, right? But I think as part of that, it becomes a challenge in terms of being able to have one dominant team where the national media can focus on, right? The Big 12 is not going to get the same spotlight that the Big 10 and the SEC are going to get. And so when you have a lot of these teams beating each other up, I think it just kind of dilutes that market, and it doesn't help national perspective on what the Big 12 can be. That's why a Texas Tech, a BYU, a Utah emerging as the dominant team year over year is going to help this conference. And I know that's not easy. And even Brett Yormark admitted that 2 years ago in his media days, address. He sees that there has to be some sort of emergence from one of these teams to make it work. So, whether it's Arizona State, Kansas State, or TCU in that mix, that's great for the conference in terms of parity and trying to be able to make a great conference where you can't guarantee wins, but at the same time, you're never going to be able to compete with these top programs because they're never going to look at you that way, because any given week, all of a sudden Arizona goes and beats BYU this week. That's not a great system. It's fun football, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's not great for the landscape of the Big 12 because they've got to try to vie for every little spot that they can. And that's why I think you saw BYU not make it into the playoffs last year, is because there's just so much parity there where it was easier to say, well, this conference, it can go any one of two ways. Plus, they lost to Texas Tech twice, in that season. There was no differentiator there, and so it's easy for them to overlook the Big 12.
You hedged your bets there with Houston. Are you just scared that it was so many close wins last year that the law of averages has just got to bite them?
I think so. I mean, like I said, I've got them at 25. I don't know that that's probably going to be sustained. I think a team like Arizona is probably better suited to get there, but I think Houston felt like a really good team at the end of the season. They're still holding over a lot of the same roster that it can get there. But if there's a team of that 4 to kind of drop back, I honestly think it could be Houston. I don't trust Kansas State fully. So to me, it's Arizona State. Arizona State, I know PK loves his alum, but I don't know that there's too many questions there, right? I don't know what Arizona State's going to look like.
So many
this
transfers.
Year, right? Exactly. Like Sam Levitt last year coming back, there was a lot to believe in Arizona State. I just don't know that we have those same answers here. But I think that group of 4 right there, group of 5, I think there's so many more questions than the 3 above them. Utah has a ton of questions, but I think there's been more consistency over the last few years to help them that kind of emerges from that other group. So, it could be Houston, like I said, it could be Arizona. It's a coin flip in a lot of respects on who could be that last team in.
So because of the depth, which can work against you as far as the 1 or 2 great teams, probably you're looking at only one team from the Big 12 getting in the playoff?
That would be my assumption. I mean, barring 2 of these teams really kind of separating themselves and just dominating the entire season, which could happen. I mean, Texas Tech has a really weak schedule. BYU and Utah don't have hard schedules. They're biggest differentiator is probably themselves playing each other, I should say. BYU does have to play Notre Dame, so that's a challenge there. But, I think you're going to have 2 teams that are dominant the entire season and really just kind of blow people away. And even then, it may not work like you saw with BYU last year. So to me, the Big 12 is still a one bid league until they can prove it otherwise. And I think, until that happens, that's always what it's going to be.
Well, I'm going to use my burner account to send you an email right now because I just don't like your attitude.
Do it.
You suck, Josh.
I'm the worst. I should be fired. I'm the worst balloter ever. How did they give it to me?
You clearly don't know anything about football.
Nope, none of it.
All right. Well, good luck with all the fun, hate, social media and email and whatever else you get, Josh. And you just do this job for the money, right? I mean, they're paying voters a ton of cash. Not like back in the day when PK had to do it for free.
I got $0.
I'm rolling in cars and watches and everything, They're just loading me.
Yeah, right. All right, Josh, we appreciate it. Thanks. We'll see you up at a practice sometime. All right.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
There's Josh Furlong. He covers the Utes. He's up there for all of Morgan Scalley's press conferences, media availabilities, covering the team. You can follow him at KSLSports.com and the KSL Sports app. You miss those days as a voter?
No.
It was fun. You said you did it, and then you moved on.
You summed it up exactly.
There it is.
Yeah, my exact feelings when I first got to do it and everything was fresh and new. Yeah, it was awesome. But after a while, you're traveling and you got to have the thing up. It's actually easier to do the preseason one because you got all this time.
Right.
But in the season, most of these people are on the road or at home, and football Saturdays for us are long days. And
you have to be doing multiple things at the same time, and you just can't be.
Right. And so you're trying to follow all these teams, and then you got to have it by like 8 o'clock the next morning or something. Mm-hmm. And if you're and especially in the West Coast here, or the west part of the United States, we're doing these things, these late games and all this stuff. And it became too much after a while for too little pay, which is zero. Yeah. And so let somebody else have it. So I had my time doing that stuff and all that. The one thing I have kept is the Wooden, because of my respect for John Wooden.
Right. And it's not the weekly grind in the same way.
No, it's not.
It's a totally different beast.
It's 1,000 times easier. Yeah.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We have talked about a lot of stuff this morning, some golf, some baseball, a lot of college football. As always, everything you missed, we'll get to it next. Stay with us.
For all of you less motivated listeners, it's time for your 9 o'clock. Where the heck have you been headlines?
Where you at?
With DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to get you updated on everything we've been talking about in this show. There's a big piece over the weekend about Kalani Sitake, ESPN.com, about how he has great relationships with all these coaches across college football. And they had quotes from a bunch of them, and it's just pretty unusual. And people are looking for stuff to write for this time of year. It'll be more about the games and players and all that kind of stuff soon. But they had time to write this, and people just love him, PK, and all the quotes. He's authentic, and he's warm, and he loves to talk and connect. And they were talking about just a few minutes before the game, media days, wherever.
He's a lovable, roly-poly kind of guy. And it's real. That doesn't mean he can get mad. I've seen him mad. Mm-hmm. I've talked to him. He's told me stuff. I feel like I got a pretty good read on him because I've been around him for a long time, and I'm by far not even close to the only one who's got a pretty good read on him too. And I think the public can look at it and see, because normally with folks that we interact with so much, you can get some nasty stories that the public doesn't see. Like when we would tell people, I was at a party once, and I think I was with Gordon, and we were telling people, John Stockton's not the easiest guy to cooperate, expect cooperation, and a lot of time in the training room, which is off limits. And they didn't want to hear it because that's their stars. Not to say he was a bad person by any stretch, and that's just a small example. But with Kalani, a lot of stuff that you hear is exactly who he is. And so the public is endearing, and we're seeing it in this little beef that they got going on, which I don't think is insurmountable, and I think will get taken care of, that the sentiment is overwhelming to his side. And it's funny how this story comes out right at this time, and I wanted to make sure that I spoke that they didn't see this stuff last week and then, we got to get this story. No, this was something that the interviews were done at the Star, which was 5 weeks ago in Texas, outside of Dallas there. And when they interviewed Rich Rod, McGuire, Sonny Dykes, Brennan down at the U of A. And these are guys that have all interacted with him, and it's legit, man. Your peers are telling the truth when they say this stuff about him, and away you go there. And he's winning at such a high level that it's a fresh story. And plus, too, you have to look at the element of him being a Polynesian, because the fact is there's not that many. Most of the head coaches are white. Let's call it like it is. And he's not. And so that's an angle, too, that's important. That's why I really think BYU, man, they got to make sure he's happy, because you have so much riding on what he's able to bring. And I spoke to this earlier. So many of these people that are on staff, assistant coaches, supplementary people, they're there because of him.
And because he's right here, and because he's been here for so long, although there was the quick detour to Oregon State, I don't know if people get how he's seen around the country. Typically, these stories go national, and it's a super familiar story locally, but it's new to people nationally.
Yeah.
Certainly with the Penn State.
And this is a national story.
Right. But with him being, the guy Penn State wanted, so now people in the rest of the country are like, well,
what's going on?
Tell me more about this guy. They've watched a late game or two or whatever, and they've seen a little bit, depending on how much they're into it. But I thought the thing that was telling for us locally was there was a quote there from someone who didn't want to be identified at Penn State, but it's like, he was the guy. Slam dunk. He was the guy they wanted. And there's the quote in the story making it just crystal clear about what a strong candidate he was. And they had other people, and obviously got somebody else, and he may do great. Campbell may do a great job there. But, they wanted Kalani big time. They've watched him. They've talked to people about him. They've seen how his team plays. I mean, they were all aboard on Kalani Sitake.
Yeah.
And that just makes me wonder, okay, we get to the end of this season, we get to 2 years from now, this is going to keep happening for a while. The story points out, he's early 50s. I mean, this guy could coach.
He could be the new Majerus in terms of the rumors.
He could. And he could go somewhere else and coach for 15 years. It could
easily.
be
Yeah.
It could be a Chris Peterson type deal where he stays one place a long time, but then he does go somewhere else, and he does do really well.
Chris Peterson's hand was forced because at that point there was starting to be a divide.
Mm-hmm.
And he had no choice.
Right.
If you want to be on the in, you got to get over there, and he did. And that's why BYU needs to make sure that they can take care of him, because he may be left with no choice. And you don't want that.
Right. But that story really laid it out. If you thought, what's Penn State? And I'm sure BYU, they know because they saw the offer and he came to them and said, well, I'm getting offered this and this and this and this and this, because it isn't just about what he's getting his offer for his salary, right? It's about the way the entire program is going to be staffed.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
budgeted.
You got to go A to Z.
Right.
And the good thing from Penn State is I think that didn't get out until late in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And I got an email that somebody said, and it was an anonymous email, and I'm not going to go back and trace the IFPD or whatever the heck that stuff is called, but it said
the IFPD,
whatever it is. Yeah.
The IP address?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
The IFPD.
Hey, you know what I'm talking about. And it's
the Indiana Fort Wayne Police
I
Department.
knew you were going to come up with some kind of police department. But that would be IFPW.
That would be, you're right.
That, hey, this is about to happen. And it was literally an anonymous email. And then right around that time, it just took off. Mm-hmm. And then it became big-time public. And BYU solved that at the time. Now they got to follow through. Harmon with a column yesterday about, hey, these are contracts. Meet the contract stipulations in a timely basis. All right. Who can argue with that?
There's no way around this. And I don't know, nor are they going to say, but this whole notion that it's pushing more money to basketball and less money to football and all that, you got to push the money to football.
You have to. Yeah.
Number one, you have to just because of that's the way sports is working. It depends on what story you read, but football, and it probably depends a little bit on the school, but I mean, football is at least 70, if it's not 80 or 90% of your money. I think the number I see most often is like 85%. I mean, it's such a staggering total of the revenue. I mean, it's such a staggering, right? So you got to. But on top of that, let's assume you don't meet the how did Dick phrase it? The stipulations of the contract in a timely manner, right?
Yeah.
If you don't, and then Kalani leaves for whatever the next big time program is, right? USC, Oklahoma, Texas. We can go down to Notre Dame. We can, whatever.
Well, that'd be cool. A Latter-day Saint head coach at Notre Dame,
right? Then you. Presumably, right, Jay Hill would be, in my mind, the number one candidate. Probably in a lot of people's minds, he'd be the number one candidate. And so he's coming.
Somebody at Michigan would be.
I see what you did there.
Jason Beck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or
go down the list.
Okay. So, well, just presume it was Jay, whoever's going to come in, they're going to say the same thing. It's good. You're going to be right back in the, hey, we need more money for X, Y, and Z. And the thing is, like, there are candidates for BYU, but it's not an endless supply, right? We know there's certain parameters you got to meet, and a lot of people don't meet them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
you're
going to have a short list, and so the next person's going to come in, and man, coaching's a small circle. They all know. It's such a small business.
But that doesn't mean he wouldn't take the job, though, because...
No. He's going to come in and there's going to be pressure on you to fulfill it. And then if you don't, then it's on you because now the same thing's happening a second time. So you got to fulfill it. I mean, there's no way around it.
Right.
You got to. There's no end game where you can get around it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Makes sense.
All right, other stuff we talked about. We just had Josh Furlong on. Get it wherever you get your podcast. You can get the whole show wherever you get your podcast. Go to KSLSports.com. Go to the KSL Sports app, YouTube, wherever. Enjoy. Your thought on the top 25, which officially is going to 15 minutes here on the other side of our show. Tim and Scott will have a nice topic to start their day off with.
I think Josh Furlong's poll will reflect fairly accurately, if not significantly accurately, of what the poll looks like.
It's not going to be that different than the coaches' poll, is it?
I don't remember what the coaches' poll was, but I put more emphasis into this one.
Yes, agreed. This one has more credibility than that one. I think the coaches kind of did it in saying, well, I have the SID do it, or
that's what we hear.
Have the grad assistant do it, or somebody, or whoever. The coaches' poll had BYU at 15 and Utah at 21. Josh had BYU at 16 and Utah at 20. And I just think that's going to be the ballpark.
I think BYU, I would probably put them a couple spots higher, if not 3 or 4 spots higher.
Who are you moving them past?
I don't care.
Okay. I do. It's fun.
Yeah, but I know, but you always do that. If I say somebody should be in, you say who should be out.
Oh, you have a lot of opinions. I figure you have somebody in mind, somebody you're looking at thinking, not those guys.
Just because my knowledge of BYU is a little stronger than my knowledge of those teams around them.
Mm-hmm. Even down at 21, when you look at the preseason poll a year ago, Oklahoma was 18, they made it. A&M was 19, they made it. Indiana was 20. Ole Miss was 21. Texas Tech was 23. There are a bunch of teams in that neighborhood that made the playoffs. So you're in the mix. That's good enough. It's a good enough starting spot. Go win, and you can do it.
I want the Big 12 to get the respect that, okay, you can sustain a loss or two in conference because the conference is that good. As long as you have some really good wins. And the perception isn't there yet.
The Notre Dame game is an opportunity. There are not a lot of them for the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, but the conference games are a lot of them.
That sounds good, but I don't think...
I'm talking about the conference getting its respect in the conference.
Yeah, I just don't think
so if Vanderbilt beats Alabama, okay.
Yeah, they do because they're the SEC, but you don't.
Right, and that's why I want to get to that point. Yeah, I'm acknowledging that, and I want the conference to get to that point.
If you're going to move BYU up, moving past USC, moving past LSU. USC doesn't have it figured out. I just saw the stat. USC is 15-15 in the last 30 games against teams in power leagues.
I don't know what the poll is yet, so how do I know who to move up?
Well, they're behind him in the coaches poll. I was using the coaches poll at 14. Move them up. Baseball, the Dodgers continue to struggle. 5-11 in the last 16 games. Brewers beat them, won 3 out of 4. Brewers with the best record in baseball. The Brew Crew.
Well, of course, because Pat Murphy was the head coach at ASU.
See? It's all about the Devils. And the nature of baseball. Debut on Saturday. Hit a home run on your first swing. Hit 3 homers in your first 3 at-bats. But how does Sunday go, PK?
He was 0 for 5 with 3 Ks. I think I would have retired Saturday.
Hang it up. Good night, everybody. There's money to be made, PK.
Best start, best finish. He's only 23 years old. Big kid. Joshua Baez there. We'll see what he does. He'll be a name to follow, man. You have that type of introduction, the best ever in the history of the sport. And every single player has had a first day. The thousands have played. They've all had the first day. It's impossible not to. And look what he did. I also want to put in there, Tommy John died yesterday. The surgery is named after him, obviously, and he had 288 wins. I'm shocked he's not in the Hall of Fame.
86 years old. A good long life. He should be in it. Yeah, 288. I mean, 300 you're in for sure, so why wouldn't you get in? Given the injuries he had, he could have easily gotten to 300.
Yeah, and you have a surgery named after you. Wow. That's him and Lou Gehrig, right?
Lou Gehrig with a disease and him with a surgery. Yeah, it's rare. But right, you say Lou Gehrig's disease, we all know.
Yeah.
Tommy John surgery, we all know.
Right.
Anything else you want to tell the people about?
In the world of sports or what's in my heart?
Cap. We got a new producer today. We talked about Alex. Our 7th producer.
Lucky 7, number 7.
I called him captain. He was captaining the ship in the early days, as rotating in occasionally here and there as a producer on shows and before that on games. Good to have a solid schedule now. You were all over the map before. You never knew where you were going to pop up.
It is a little bit, I can plan my day, around the schedule that I know now.
Oh, I'm excited for him because in all seriousness, because you got to get your start, and this is a full-time opportunity, and now you got both feet in the door. And we all needed that. We all had that. Again, like this Joshua Baez, you all have a first time.
Yep.
Right? Mine was the Casa Grande Dispatch.
KTMS in Santa Barbara.
You all have your first opportunity. And, he's been knocking on the door. And the great thing about it is As I've done my research on you to find out what you're about, who you are, and the big thing for me is overwhelmingly your work ethic. If I sense somebody is lazy, I have no respect for them. If I sense somebody is a hard worker, I'll give them not one, not two, not three, not four, but as many chances as possible within reason, as long as they're a hard worker. And so that's the thing that I want to see. And now you've got this opportunity, and I'm excited to see what you can do, because you get to be my age, you want to help people, you want to give back. Because so many people helped you, in this case me, if I want to go in that way, along the way. And I want to see that same type of thing, if there's any way I can help anybody along the path. I did it with Christian, and now you're the latest. And I'll do it. And I've done it. I did it with a guy, and DJ can vouch for this. Then it freaking brought me to tears.
I was telling my wife about this the other day.
I helped a guy who is now on ESPN regularly, and he came on the air probably 2-3 years ago, and he credited me. And fortunately, I was on remote, and I wasn't here, so DJ couldn't see me wiping the tears. Not that it would have been a tad awkward, but that's how moved I was to know that my influence, he saw that. And I want to make sure I do the same thing for you going forward. That when I'm sitting there drooling on myself on a porch, I want to hear your name in 10 and 15 years from now doing whatever it is that you want to do, that you've worked for the opportunity to do it.
Maybe 30 when we're done. You might have to wait 30. Okay, 25.
Now, I still think I can do the show when I have a little bit of drool.
Well, we've seen people in other markets fall asleep on camera while doing the show. I have seen that. That was something. All right, your feedback next. Stay with us.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
And now, enough of us. It's time to hear from you. From all your texts, tweets, and posts. This is the best feedback of the day.
Woo! Oh, I was there. It's the best game of my life.
With DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it is time for your feedback. Everything you've got to say about today's show. None other than Pete Futak picking BYU to beat Notre Dame this season. Can it be true? Jared, if Notre Dame decides to show up,
I think Notre Dame will be here.
They may cancel so they don't lose their number 5 ranking and lose to a number 15 Cougar team.
I don't think so. I think they'll play.
Shane says it's going to be a good game. BYU has a good team this year. It could happen.
Sure it could. Why not?
Jared said, it'll be a great win for the Kitties if it happens.
Oh, yeah, it'd be an incredible win. Absolutely. Most likely an undefeated Notre Dame team, and you beat them at home for your fans and national TV, and it's deep enough in the season where, there's so much ramifications on stuff. Oh, yeah, it'd be gigantic.
I figured Jared had to be a Ute or an Aggie. It turns out he's got 2 schools, but it's not Utah and Utah State. It's Utah and USC, class of 2014. Taking shots at the Cougars. Kitties isn't particularly creative.
Right, and plus that's what we call Arizona, so we already got that. Cougars,
oh, you do?
Cougars aren't kitties. And they're mean, ferocious animals.
Jared, it could happen. Nobody picked BYU to beat Miami in 1990. Can they finally top the Miami win?
36 years later?
How big would it be?
Yeah.
Where will Notre Dame be ranked? I'm holding on just to find out.
Oh, I think Notre Dame will be top 5.
When we come back, we'll have the poll for you. Scotty G and Tim next, right here on The Zone.
All right, big finish.
Show's over, folks.
That's it. Go home, everybody. None of this ever happened.
Win big.
We all have routines. I'm Jabron, and with diabetes, mine was finger sticks. Sometimes I skip them because they hurt. The Freestyle Libre 3C GM changed that. It gives me glucose insights without finger sticks. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
Finger sticks are required if your glucose alarms or readings do not match symptoms, or when you see check blood glucose symbol for the first 12 hours. The views expressed should not be used for medical diagnosis or treatment as a substitute for professional medical advice. Individual circumstances may vary. For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Meet Keith, loving dad, board game champ, bus driving pro.
I drive 65,000 miles in my bus each year. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. Like how there are some things I simply can't see. On my route the other day, a car tried to sneak past me and ends up right in my blind spot. I turned slowly, so accident avoided. But no car should be in the blind spot for a 40,000-pound bus. It's our roads. It's our safety.
Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.